You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to another episode of How to 20-something, where today I'll be talking to you all about what to do when you make a mistake, whether it's at work, with a friend, in your own privacy, and pretty much any situation where you were like, oh shit. Now, I'm not talking about the big giant mistakes like cheating on your partner or saying yes to a job you end up hating 1 month in, or driving drunk and getting caught, or gambling all your money away, or anything else you would classify as pretty major. No, these are the tiny things. Saying the wrong thing and accidentally hurting someone's feelings. Emailing the wrong person. Tripping in front of your crush. Inputting the wrong order or wrong numbers at work. At one point or another, we've all made a mistake. And then if you're anything like me or my clients, you dwelled on it for far longer than you know you should have. Where your mind gremlins take over and tell you the worst things about yourself, bringing all of your insecurities to the surface. Like, this is why I don't have a lot of friends. I'm so stupid. I can't do this. I'm going to lose my job. They shouldn't have hired me. And pretty much any other thoughts that come up for you. This episode topic actually came up after a client of mine made her first mistake at her first full-time job. She texted me freaking out. And since I know this client very, very well at this point in our partnership, I knew how to support her and remind her that she's spiraling because she cares. That this is a normal reaction to being human. But we don't want to dwell here. She found out about this mistake as soon as she left work for the day. Why she was checking her email at her car 5 minutes after walking out, I have no idea, but she let this mistake ruin her entire evening and then felt guilty for ruining her boyfriend's evening as a result. It was one spiral into another. Thankfully, she texted me about it so I could talk her off her ledge and remind her she's not going to lose her job. If there's nothing you can do about it right now, then you need to switch into self-care mode. And being 3 weeks into a job means it's totally inevitable that you are going to make a mistake. Even 3 years into a job, you'll find yourself making mistakes. Why? Because you're a human, and humans aren't perfect. Now, this client is a known spiraler, and lucky for her, I am great at getting people to stop spiraling. So much so that I turned it into an easy 3-step process and packaged it into a free PDF just for you. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes or go to justdiamondcoaching.com/spiral so you can access the 3 ways to stop spiraling. And while you go fill out your name and email, I'm going to get back to the episode you're listening to, which is how to stop letting this mistake take over your entire day. To quote the fabulous Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has those days. And this client was having one of those days. When you have a fuck up, whether it's at work, in your relationship, when you're on a nutrition plan, the worst thing you could do for yourself is to continue to think about the thing you did wrong. There's a high probability that you're tying this mistake to your worth and capability as a person, and that's why you start spiraling into worst case scenarios about how you suck and would be better off crawling in a hole and dying. Dramatic, I know. But that's basically what your thoughts are doing. This client was turning a little oopsy into her entire personality, and because she cares and wants to do well in her new job and is someone who's very polite and apologetic, I knew I needed to tell her one thing and coach her around another thing after. What I told her is that the one thing she needs to absolutely make sure of is to not over-apologize. You're naturally going to turn something into a bigger deal than what it actually is. So here's what you do when it comes to apologizing. Say you're sorry when you learn you made a mistake, acknowledge what you did wrong, then move on to the next thing. That's what an apology is. It's an oops, I didn't mean to, and I will try my very hardest to not let that happen again. Then ask how to do it correctly or better. Apologize maybe one more time. And then, and I'm going to repeat this, move on. It's done. It happened. You can't go back in time. All you can do is learn and move forward. Shake it off, go for a walk, switch to another task, but stop apologizing. The part I coached her around was her sense of control. When she texted me, freaking out, the very first thing I asked her was, is there anything you can do about this right now? Or does it have to wait until you're in the office tomorrow? She said she can't do anything right now, that she replied to her boss's email apologizing and that they'll figure out a solution in the morning. Then she stopped texting me for like 3 hours and came back saying she's still very upset about it. And that, my friend, is because you've entered into imposter syndrome. That's where the tying the mistake to your worth comes into play, especially when you're new in your career or new to a job that maybe you feel you're not the most perfect fit for. A stretch role, if you will. So when you mess up, your brain doesn't go, I made a mistake, but instead convinces you that you are the mistake, that you don't know what you're doing. They're going to realize they hired the wrong person. You don't belong here. Your first mistake as an adult, especially at work, will feel like the end of the world. But it's because you haven't had time to build up your own proof that one mistake doesn't define you. So now you're wide awake at night freaking out over this while your boss is happily tucked into bed snoozing away, knowing it's not that big of a deal and will be taken care of during working hours. Because everything is always figure outable. You're letting this mistake live rent-free in your head. So let's shift gears into what's actually true here. Making mistakes is part of the process. It's how you learn. Your boss makes mistakes. The CEO makes mistakes. I've made mistakes as a coach, friend, employee, girlfriend, daughter, sister. Mistakes are part of being a human. I could go on and on about different mistakes I've made in my life and some that haunt me to this day, but I don't shudder at the thought of them anymore. I use them as reminders of what I can do differently next time. For example, I once messed up with communicating with a client where she kept canceling and or rescheduling last minute for different reasons, and I was ready to talk to her about it during our session, to which she canceled 30 minutes beforehand. So I said it over text, how unfair this is to my schedule. I did say it better than what I'm paraphrasing for you right now, but it was her reaction that made me realize I messed up. And now I've learned to always lead with compassion first. When a client needs to reschedule or cancel, the very first thing I ask is everything okay? And that has made all the difference. Now my client feels supported, and we move through this together, and then discuss my cancellation policy at a more appropriate time. That mistake happened in 2024, and I've signed a ton of other clients since then, but it's something I replay in my head a lot. As a reminder, not as a dweller or spiraler. I like mistakes. Not in the moment. In the moment, they suck. But mistakes keep you humble. They show you you're human and that you're open to learning, that you're not perfect, and that makes you relatable. What matters is how you recover from the mistake. The way you handle it is what people will remember. You might remember this until the day you die, but anyone affected will remember your reaction and then action to it, which is where control comes into play. Your mistake wasn't intentional, you're not a bad person, and you're going to try your best to right your wrongs. So let's shift into the recovery part of this. First things first, after the obvious, acknowledge you made a mistake and apologizing, the next thing for you to do is give yourself a window to feel bad, or space where you can throw yourself a pity party, and then you have to decide for yourself that when that time is up, you are going to move on. And the reason why I say this is what you need to do first is because your brain is not going to think logically about this until you let some emotion out. You're allowed to feel embarrassed, frustrated, disappointed, ashamed, upset, literally any and all the feels. So make sure you're not bearing them down, but acknowledging what's coming up for you. This time limit you give yourself is going to vary based off of the individual and the situation. For example, if it's the middle of the workday, you probably have 5 to 10 minutes to walk it off or be somewhere private. But if it's like my client's example, and it occurs at the end of the workday, you get to decide if you want this moment to consume your entire evening or if you want to set a shorter limit. Neither answer is necessarily wrong. But remember, you're not getting paid to overthink off of company time. So do with that what you will. Step 3 is come up with solutions if you can. Basically, fix what you can fix with the information and accessibility you have. This is where you're not making excuses for what happened, but you are providing solutions to help right your wrongs. Step 4 is the coaching part. What can you learn from this? Now the mistake will become something useful, like how I learned to lead with compassion when someone wants to reschedule, even when it's annoying on my end, because their experience matters more to me. So why did this happen? And what can you do differently next time? This isn't ruminating on the oh me's, oh my's of this fuck up. It's reflecting so you can grow forward from it. And step 5 is reminding yourself that you are not the mistake. You made one. They are separate, and it in no way means you're wrong for the job, the friendship, the relationship, the world, or whatever other scenario you want to fill in. I know this episode was heavily career-focused, but it applies everywhere. The goal is never to never make a mistake again. It's to become someone who knows how to handle it when they do. Because you will make another mistake. This isn't your last one. It's probably not your first one you've made in your life either. But replaying what you did on repeat in your head is why it's living rent-free. And free, in this economy, is a foolish choice. So make those thoughts vacate the premises because now you've learned what you needed to and are able to move on. And that, my friend, is how I'm going to wrap up this episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, have ever made a mistake at work and spiraled from it, or know someone who is currently in that spiral right now, please share this episode. Give me a 5-star rating, post it to your story, send it to a friend. Just do something that helps me reach all of the 20-somethings navigating the most confusing decade of their lives. And as always, I cannot wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.